So after owning a set of the Timbrens that I put on the rear of my truck here for about 3 months, I thought I'd take a second and go over the pros and cons of this system and maybe why you might want to select these over a set of airbags going forward, depending on your situation and what you're going to be using these for. Now, my particular truck here is a 2007 Dodge Ram. It's a 2500 with the 5.9 Cummins. I run this truck with the factory rear suspension and I've got a 2-inch level up front. I've been running a set of Timbrens in the front now for over a decade, basically from the day I actually put a snowplow on the front of this thing. And that extra weight, that's around 1,100 pounds or so that I put on the front, I was constantly slamming the factory bump stops until I installed those. And I could tell you that after running these for a decade in the front, they dramatically improve the overall quality and the experience driving the truck down the road, especially when I've got that plow mounted during the winter months. So with that being said, over the winter I picked up a brand new fifth wheel, and with this being somewhat on the heavier side from what I'm used to towing with this vehicle, I decided I needed to go ahead and put some kind of a system in the rear now to improve the ride quality and also to help with the sag of the truck. When you're weighing your options between airbags and this Timbren setup, there's a lot of different things you could consider, and there's pros and cons honestly to each of the systems depending on what you're trying to do with it. Obviously with an airbag, they're quite a bit more expensive, but they also offer a lot of adjustability, so you can really dial in your setup and get that perfect ride height on that vehicle depending on the weight you're carrying that day. On these Timbrens though, they're more of a set it and forget it. They come in at a fraction of the price of what you could pick up an airbag setup for, but these also install in probably half or a quarter of the time of what your airbags are as well. And not to mention, there's absolutely no maintenance to the Timbrens. Once you get them on the truck and get them set, that's all there is to it. You just let them do their thing. Now, they're a progressive rate rubber and they're designed that way, so basically the more weight you put on the vehicle in the rear, the more these things will actually activate and the better the ride quality is in my experience. So when you go to do the installation on these in the rear, one important thing you're going to want to keep in mind is you don't want to actually set this to where the Timbren runs right on the axle full time. You do want a little bit of like 1.5 to 2 inch gap between the axle and where the Timbren actually sits so that the truck has its factory ride quality when you're going down the road. Timbren also does supply these little spacers that you can put in, so if your truck has a little bit of a lift, like you've got 2-inch blocks in the rear, something like that, you can install these pucks to get this closer to the axle so that you can maintain that distance between the axle and where the Timbren sits. Now if your truck sits factory, you're probably not going to need these spacers, but they do come with the kit, so if you need them, that's something to keep in mind. But what I found when I was doing my research is a lot of people install the spacers thinking they have to be there, and then that Timbren sits on the axle full time, and that's going to completely alter the setup and how the truck feels and rides. And it's going to make it feel like a log wagon going down the road. Now I mentioned there's pros and cons to every setup. Obviously airbags have the adjustability, so you can let the air in and out depending on what you're running that day. Now the con on these Timbrens is there is a spot where honestly it decreases the ride quality a little bit. For me, that's around that 800-pound mark if I've got a bumper pull trailer hooked up. If I hit that 800-pound, which is about what my bumper pull dump trailer puts on the hitch when I've got it hooked up empty, if I hit certain bumps, I do feel like the ride quality does decrease just a little bit. But anytime I've got any kind of weight over that on the truck, for example, my fifth wheel camper here, this thing rides like a dream when I've got this thing on the back of the truck. The Timbrens activate and they do their job, and then with them being progressive rate, the more weight that those Timbrens see, the more it smooths out the ride going down the road. At least that's my experience. So when it comes to considering which of these is going to be the better system for you and your truck, the things I would consider the most are how handy are you? Do you mind the extra time to install? Can you afford the extra price the airbags are going to bring? And honestly, do you want to be tinkering with the airbags every time they have an air leak? Or if you live in the Rust Belt like I do, dealing with crud or sand or any kind of debris that might get up into those air fittings? Well, I think airbags are extremely beneficial and they are absolutely the way to go in a lot of scenarios. I do feel like these Timbrens have a special place in the market, which is why I chose them for ease of installation, the price they came in at, and I just love the set it and forget it factor. But other than that, take a look at these, see if they might fit the bill for you and what you're trying to accomplish with your rig. They absolutely, in my opinion, are the way to go, at least for me and my vehicle and my setup. Other than that, that's all I've got for you in this video today, guys. I hope that was somewhat helpful for you in making a decision as to whether these Timbrens might be right for you or not. We'll catch you guys in the next video.